Welcome, Route 4 students. All right, let's just jump right in, shall we? We're cracking open our vocabulary companion to explore some seriously powerful words that are going to level up the way you communicate. No long intros, let's just get to it. Okay, so our first set of words, well, they tackle some pretty huge ideas: power, rules, and what happens when everything gets shaken up. We're talking about the actual forces that shape the world we live in. So, our first key word is the verb enforce. Think about it like this: a no parking sign is really just a suggestion, right? Until someone is there to actually hand out tickets. That is enforcement, the action of making people obey a rule. And what's cool is that enforce doesn't travel alone, it's got a whole family. The act itself is the noun, enforcement, like in law enforcement. And if a rule can be applied, we call it enforceable. You'll almost always hear it hanging out with words like rules or laws. Now, that leads us right into our next word, constrain. Because really, when you enforce a rule, what are you doing? You're constraining something. This verb means to restrict or limit, kind of like putting up a barrier or a fence. And you are going to hear this one everywhere. A lack of money can constrain growth for a company. A really tight deadline can constrain your creativity. And the noun form, constraint, is just a fantastic word for any kind of limitation you might be up against. So what happens when those constraints and rules aren't applied fairly? Well, that can lead to disparity. This is a super important noun that means a big and usually unfair difference between groups. The most common one you'll hear about is income disparity, which is that gap between the rich and the poor. Okay, so if that disparity gets really, really bad, you might see unrest or even a full-blown upheaval. Now, they're related, but they are not the same thing. Unrest is about protests, maybe some violence, but upheaval? Whoa, that's on a whole other level. It's a massive, chaotic disruption that can change everything, like a political upheaval that completely overthrows a government. All right, so we've looked at these big external forces out in the world. Let's switch gears. We're going to zoom right in, from the structure of society to the human condition, to the world that exists inside each and every one of us. Let's talk about innate. It's this brilliant adjective we use to describe something that's just part of you. It's not something you learned, it's something you were born with. And the whole idea behind innate is that it comes from birth. You might have an innate ability for music or maybe an innate talent for sports. It's that natural skill that you didn't really have to work for. It just seems to be there. So I want you to actually pause and think about this for a sec. What is one skill or ability that has always just come naturally to you, even when you were a little kid? Whatever just popped into your head, that's your innate talent. Okay, so on the one hand, you have these innate built-in traits. And on the other hand, you've got impulse. This noun is for that sudden, powerful urge to do something without even thinking. You know, the classic example, impulse buying, when you just have to grab that chocolate bar at the checkout. And you'll notice we almost always talk about a sudden impulse, right? Or the need to control an impulse. It just captures that spontaneous, gotta do it now feeling perfectly. And if you're a person who often acts on these urges, people might describe you with the adjective impulsive. Next up is the noun frailty. Now, this one's interesting. You might first think of physical weakness, like the frailty of an elderly person. But it's often used in a much bigger, more philosophical sense to talk about human frailty, the idea that all of us have these built-in weaknesses and imperfections. All right, we've looked at our internal world, flaws and all. Now let's look at the words that help us move forward. Words about action, about growth, and about building a better future for ourselves and for everyone. Here's a word we all love to hear: prosper. It's a fantastic verb, and it's all about success. It means to thrive, to flourish, especially in a financial sense. It just paints this wonderful picture of growth and doing well. And its family is just as positive. The state of being successful is the noun, prosperity. And a person or a country that's doing really well is described as prosperous. It's all about that upward climb. So that begs the question, right? How do you prosper? Well, a really common strategy is to emulate someone who's already made it. This verb means you try to imitate or copy someone you admire, hoping to achieve the same kind of success. You might emulate a great scientist or your favorite athlete. Of course, you really can't have a prosperous society without this next word, literacy. This noun means the ability to read and write, but its meaning has gotten so much bigger. I mean, today we talk all the time about computer literacy or financial literacy, which is just being knowledgeable in those key areas. Okay, for our final section, let's do a little rapid fire round. We're going to look at how these ideas pop up in common everyday expressions. This is where you really start to own the language and make it yours. Here's a great one. By dint of. It's a slightly formal but really powerful way to say because of or through the effort of. It really emphasizes that the success didn't just happen, it was earned through some serious hard work. Next, frown upon. This one takes us all the way back to the beginning, doesn't it? Back to social rules. When people frown upon something, it means they disapprove of it. It's not just one person's opinion. It's like a whole society is giving it a thumbs down. And our last one, to fend for yourself. This is all about independence. It means you have to take care of yourself without anybody's help. It's a huge step toward being able to prosper all on your own. Wow. Okay, so from massive social upheavals to tiny personal impulses and the drive to succeed, we have covered a lot of ground. So I'll leave you with this question. Which one of these powerful new words are you going to take out there and make your own? Which one will you master first?